Now I want to add an event listener that responds to this show me button. So I don't need these. This was just for demo purposes, so I'm going to remove those. But what I want to do is I want to get this element, and we can find it in here. So it is this show me button. So it's an element that has ID equal to show, and it's after the page loads. So I want to access it inside this load function, right, where we're adding listeners. So if I put it in here, it'll be safe because it'll happen after load. And I want to add an event listener to it. So the way that I do this is I use the document.getElementById, and this one was the show me. Oh, the ID is just show. All right, and I want to add an event listener to this element. So I do add an event listener, and just like with any event listener, it has two parts. It has what event do you want to listen to, and by the way, you can add many event listeners to a single event. What we want, I want to respond to it when it clicks. So the event is click. We put the event in quotes. And then the next one is the function. And so this is the show function. And now I don't have that function yet, so I'm going to go down here and add that function. And notice I'm adding the function outside of the first function. They can be separate functions. It will have this same name. And now in here I can do any JavaScript that I want to do when that button is clicked. What we want to do in this function is to gather the values that are in these boxes. So let's say we've got a 3, a 1, and a 2. And when I click on that, we're going to gather that and add them up. And so we're going to do 6 and show them a picture of a cone with 6 scoops. So to get that, I need to have a variable for vanilla scoops. And I'm going to set that equal to document.getElementById. And I'm going to get that first one, which is the ID on it is vanilla. And what I want to do is get the value. So I'm going to get that value and store it in this variable. I'm going to do the same thing for chocolate and strawberry. So, and they're named that, chocolate. And this will be a variable called chocolate scoops, and strawberry is the ID. And that's what the element will get, the one that has strawberry. So here we've gathered those 3 values from the boxes, and then I want a var that is total scoops. And I'm simply going to add these up. So I'm going to take vanilla scoops and add that to chocolate scoops and add that to strawberry scoops. So then we'll have the total scoops in there. So now that I've got the total, I want to put a picture in. So let me first show you how we access changing a picture. So right now I've just got this picture cone 0. If I look in images, I have several different cones and they're all named. Cone 1 has 1 scoop of ice cream, cone 2 has 2, and so forth, clear up to cone 10. So these are my possible values for the source attribute. So what I want to do is go get this picture element. So here's this image, and I'm going to go get this element. And I do it the same way that I always get elements, document.getElementById. By the way, there are other ways to get it, but this one works really well. But now what I want to do with it is I want to change its source attribute. There's lots of things we can do with an element when we get it. I'm simply going to set its source attribute to, and here I can say, well, let's set it to cone6.jpg. All right, so if I save that and I come over here and refresh, and I put a 3 and a 1 and a 2, and I click show me, it didn't find it. Let's see why not. Oh, because just like with the source attribute, we have to identify where it is. So not only is it the name of the file, notice the source attribute, it has the path as well. So now in here I have to do the same thing. I have to put the entire source attribute, so it includes the path as well. All right, let's save it and try again. Refresh. Notice we lose our numbers each time we refresh. And now when I click Show Me, sure enough, we get an image with 6 scoops of ice cream. But what about if we have a 4 here, which would be 7, and we click Show Me? We always get this same one because we just said do this same one. So we can change this by changing. Notice that the only thing that changes is that value right there. And that value is actually what's in total scoops. So watch what I'm going to do with this string. Here we go. You do it as well. So take that string and end it right after the E and put a plus. And then we need a number here. Instead of a 6, we need total scoops, so it's however many. So there's total scoops plus, now we need the .jpeg part. So this will be images/cone 6 if total scoops equals 6, 8 if total scoops equals 8, .jpeg. So there we've created one that's actually responsive to the number of scoops. So now if we refresh and we put in 2 and 5 and that's 7, let's try just one, that'll make 8, and Show Me. Again, we have an error. Now look at this error. This is a little bit small, so let me read it to you. It can't find the file is what it's not finding, but look what it's looking for. It's looking for, it's on cone251.jpg. Cone251.jpg. We said we wanted it to be 2 plus 5 plus 1, which is 8. So what's it doing? It's concatenating. It's put 2 and 5 and 1 right up against each other. So it's concatenating them. How do we do that? That's when it's always the case when you get a value from a text input, it comes in as a string. When you add strings together, you get concatenation. How do we fix that? We use the parseFloat to say change this to a float variable, and we're going to use it on all of these. So we want that one parse-floated. We want the strawberry scoops parse-floated. All right, now we have all 3 of them. Let's try again. Notice how you just work on it one detail at a time. Find out what works and move on. So let's try it again. 2, 5, 1. Click Show Me, and there we go. We have the one with 8 scoops and no errors in the console. This is great. Let's try a couple more. And there we have one with 4. So it appears to be working the way that we want. There's one more detail I want to take care of. And here, what happens if we just say we want 2 chocolate? What do we get? Now it's saying cone not a number. NaN stands for not a number, so it's adding something unknown. This is undefined. It doesn't have a value to 2 and adding that to another undefined value. There's just no value there. And it's coming up with this NaN, which won't work either. So the one way to solve this is to go into the text boxes and actually initialize them to 0. You can give them an initial value by setting it to the value attribute, and that's what the value will be when the page loads. And you can change it later. This is just what it starts out as. So I'm going to add the value attribute and set it equal to 0. Now when I load the page, they have that 0 value, and if I just do 2 in the chocolate and say Show Me, I get 2, and it adds without an error.